So now we are down to the video where we switch places. So Birkir, you are the interviewer. You can ask me anything you want about Prismic, about the product, and I'll try to answer.
All right, Sadek. Yeah, questions. I think most people are probably wondering like what's the future with Prismic? How can we be sure you're here to stay?
Yeah, it's a very very good question.
Is it how's the future?
So it's a very interesting question, because especially when you move from of course, if you have an open source or anything that you have, you deploy yourself, you know that you own that thing, and of course there's maintenance and all the other things that you need to care about, to take care. But at least you know that often we're scared about startups that they might disappear, and then what happens to all my clients, to all the people. Well, the first thing that I can say is that we are a profitable company. So we make money that cover our expenses. So basically, we will not run out of money. That's not our strategy, to put like a lot of to take a lot of VCs and then suddenly there's no more money and we don't know how to do. We should raise more money. It's a profitable company and we want to keep it that way. Profitable company means we cover our expenses. We will not run out of money. That's the first thing, right? And the second thing is we've been there for 4 years. And we're not counting. Look, there's no one at the company that has a goal of let's exit or let's sell or let's back in maybe 2 years ago we got a suggestion from Google for an acquisition, and it was a different project back then. But this is not our interest. We want to make an environment where we're happy to work. Where we're glad to do what we're doing, where we're having a good time. It's not the exit kind of strategy. It's the strategy that we want something that lives for long. But these are promises, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's all what I can provide you with. But still, it's a headless CMS, so you have we manage data, so maybe migration from there is not as hard as migrating from some kind of proprietary technology, at least.
Yeah, that's what I love about CMSs, headless CMSs. All right, thank you. Next question would be, how do you pick what is going to be the next feature? How do you pick? I mean, you probably have a community and they ask for specific features. I mean, we at Ueno, we know how it goes, but for everybody else, how do you guys decide?
The thing changed a lot through, and it's part of being. We started as a startup, and we learned a lot of things in the beginning. So we are a very opinionated company, and that's maybe good and bad at the same time. In the beginning, we were so much we know what should be implemented because we did websites in the past and we know how to do things. Now we are evolving into a mix-up of we like to think about user experience, about features very, very deeply, but we want to kind of collaborate with our users, the community, to understand what are their use cases, what should be we solving. So what happens actually? So we have feedback from all our users. There are different channels where you can give us feedback. We partner with some good clients or good agencies that do very good works, like people they do very nice websites, very good execution, like you guys. We try to partner with them to have very close collaboration so that we can learn about their use cases as well. Once we have that, then we discuss about internally about what the different solutions for this kind of use case. And then whenever we have some kind of prototype, we share it. We tell look, this is prototype. What do you think of it? Do you think that it can handle a prototype, meaning something that where you can click on, experiment with, so that you can have an idea. Once we did that, then we start implementing. The implementation goes into different phases. Once we have some kind of alpha feature which you can enable on your repository, but still it's not a production thing. So it will be buggy, it can have some problems. We have quality process, but the thing that is true always about bugs is that they manage their way out. So that's why we have this kind of process where we share it as a beta feature, and then different users will enable it in their repository. And then we'll get feedback, we improve it until some stage where a lot of users are already using it, and then we get it into the different stage where we start deploying it for everyone. Okay, and we try to break functionalities into a lot of smaller pieces. So if you have like something like big we have to work on, we take a very small part of it to experiment, to have feedback, so that we don't get mistaken. Because before we used to work on something like for 6 months, and then you hear nothing about us for 6 months, and suddenly, ta-da! Here's a huge functionality, and like you like it, but you're disappointed about some details about it because it's not exactly perfect. So we're not doing this anymore. We're making things in smaller pieces, so that we have this kind of engagement and process of discussing with our users about like how can we progressively do this functionality to get it to something useful for everyone.
That makes sense.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I mean, no, that was pretty thorough.
Yeah, I tried to go through the whole process, right?
Yeah, I think one question just for fun: what would you use to create a website today?
I would use. No, it depends. See, this is the thing. Like, imagine if you get a client that just, imagine I want to do a blog. Yeah. And I have, for my club, I do badminton, and they ask me like, hey, we want to do a website for our club of badminton. Honestly, if I go for Prismic, until we have themes, it will take me quite some time. I mean, it will take me like a few days to implement that. That's fine, but I don't have time for that. I might end up like getting a theme and deploying it.
Yeah.
But that's out of laziness, right? But if I had the choice, of course, I will choose the future-proof way. A headless CMS which allows me like to implement things myself in the technology I like, and if in the future something changes, well, I'm the master. I can change whatever technology I want. It's just I'm pulling data from that thing. So I will go for a headless CMS.
Definitely.
Cool.
Well,
thank you, Birkir.
Thank you, Sadek.
For the questions.
Yeah.